Hey guys, it's Jake here with eTrailer. Today we have a 2011 Ford F-150 and we're going to be taking a look at and I'm going to show you how to install the Hellwig rear anti-sway bar. This rear anti-sway bar is going to be an addition to the vehicle. You don't have to remove an anti-sway bar because the rear of our F-150 does not come with one from the factory. What this is designed to do is it's designed to help control body roll, to bring the vehicle back to center when going around windy turns, or if you're hauling an uneven load, it'll help to offset that so that your drive is a lot more confident and comfortable. This anti-sway bar is going to have a very thick construction coming in at 1 1/8 inch thick steel. It is a chromoly steel, so it's designed to have a spring to it. So whenever it's being pushed down on the one side, the other side's being pulled up, so it wants to constantly recenter, which is going to help to keep that truck from leaning too far from one side to the other. You're going to see a pretty big difference with this truck because it doesn't have one on the rear. A lot of them that we do will take the old one off and put the new one on, and it's definitely a thicker construction, but because this one didn't have one, I think we're going to see a lot of good results. Especially with these trucks being newer, they have softer suspension, so that wants to make the vehicle sag a little bit more when you're going around turns, especially if you have an uneven load in the bed of your truck or a load that's going to want to shift. When you're going on those inside or outside corners, the whole truck wants to start rolling. This is going to help to prevent some of that. If you're having troubles with your vehicle swaying from side to side, or if you're having troubles with your trailer swaying, wagging behind you, this is going to help with that. But I would highly recommend, if you're adding a rear anti-sway bar, the whole vehicle is swaying. So I recommend installing the front anti-sway bar by Hellwig too. So that way you have two good, beefy anti-sway bars that are going to help your whole vehicle to stay centered. This is not a very difficult installation. It doesn't involve any drilling. There's no sway bar to remove, so that really helps with the install. I will say it will help to remove the spare tire. Just drop it down out of place. You can put it back when we're done, but it's going to help to give you a little bit more room to work. But because we're working on an F-150, there's more than enough room to lay under there to get this job done. With all that being said, let's go ahead and pull it in the shop and show you how we got it done. To begin our installation, we're going to need to lower down our spare tire. Now for your install, you may not have to do this. For ours, we're going to do it so that you can see everything a lot better, but you might be able to do it without lowering it. But we'll get it lowered down by removing our little plug here with your driver's key and just rotate our spare tire down and out of the way. Now we're going to take a few of our brackets and we need to get them installed up here on our shock mount. We're going to take our threaded plate. It's just going to have one hole in it. It'll be offset. So you want to take that threaded hole, slide it through the end here, and then we'll get that to line up at the center of this hole. And then we could take one of our shorter bolts that comes in our kit, and then one of our U-brackets. It'll have two holes in it. This is where one of our drop-down brackets is going to mount to. We're going to put some blue Loctite on this bolt before we get it mounted up. Now we'll take that bolt, slide it through our bracket, and then get it to start inside that lock. We're going to repeat that process on the other side of the vehicle, and we'll come back with a torque wrench and torque it down to the specifications in the instructions. We're going to be using a 19mm socket in order to do this. Now we need to put our bushings inside of these hoops. We're going to do all four of them while we're doing this because this can kind of get messy. So we'll take the tube of bearing grease, we'll squirt it onto the bushing. Or it's a tube of bushing grease. You just want to push it down inside that. And then what we could do, we'll take all this excess off here, and then we'll smear it on the other side. And then any of this stuff that gets everywhere, we can just take a towel and wipe the rest off. So we'll have each of the ones that we just put the bushings inside of. This is going to eventually thread into here, but we need to put a jam nut on first. So you have a very large nut in your kit. We're gonna thread one of those on, and I'm just gonna thread up all the way so that it's out of our way, because this, we're going to spin it inside of here in order to get the right height. So we'll start with that, and then we can get it up there, put it in place, and then we can spin this in or spin it out in order to get the right height adjustment. Now we're going to take the bushing inserts. It's a little tube. There's 4 of them that come in your kit. You're going to put each one of them inside of these bushings. This is going to be easiest to do with a vise. If you don't have a vise, you could just use a pliers, but we're going to use this to press it in place. Make sure you push it in all the way. Looks like I can go a little bit further. Just like that. Take our end lengths, and you want to slide this up into this bracket. We're going to have to kind of smash it in place. So if you can get a hand on it, you can tell our rubber is sticking out past the width of the inside here. This bracket might be a little misformed, so we may have to spread it out a little bit, but we're going to try to push it up in there first. You want the curvature of this bar to be on the inside of your leaf springs. There we go. Now we'll get those holes lined up and get our hardware in place. We'll take our silver bolt, slide it into place, then we'll take one of our locking nuts and thread it on the back side. We're going to leave this loose until we get everything installed so we can make any adjustments if we need to. Using our grade 8 bolts, you might be able to do this by yourself by laying underneath the vehicle. I'm doing it by myself, so we'll just take our 1 bolt to the one side, and we're just going to let our sway bar hang here for a second while I get the bolt in the other side. Get that slid in, and then we'll follow it up with our flat washer and our lock nut. Now we need to lift our sway bar up. Again, there's just going to be a lot of fitment here. Your U-bolts need to be about where this starts to turn, because that's where we're going to have to put our bushing. So we'll take our bushing. There's going to be a little split in it right here. We're going to open that up. You want to put some of that bushing grease on the inside. We'll roll it up in place. You don't want to slide this side to side if you don't have to, but now it's ready for our bracket. We're going to do the same thing to the other side. We'll take our brackets that have this V-cut in it. They're going to go up first because they're going to rest up against the bottom of the axle. Then we'll take this bracket. It'll have to go around our bushing. And this can be tricky. It's definitely helpful if you have another set of hands. But we'll take our washer, slide it on here, and then we're going to follow that with one of our lock nuts. Now we're going to take a 19mm socket, snug each one of these up. We're going to go back and forth. When you're tightening down U-bolts, that's the way you want to do it. Then we'll come back and make sure that we have the same amount of U-bolt sticking out on each side. I will come back and torque these down to the specifications in the instructions. Take our bolts out of the ends of our sway bar. You can tell that our sway bar is not level because it's from front to back, it's sloped a little bit forward. You can use any of these 3 holes, and you want your end lengths to be straight up and down. So you want it to be perpendicular to the sway bar. We'll pop this bolt out. We've already got the other side out. We'll take this one off. Take this bolt out. And most of the weight should be held by those bushings. But essentially, you want to get it lined up so that our sway bar is level, which is right about there. And then you want this end link to be as straight up and down as you can get it. So you want to move it over. And I think we're going to go It's a little bit tapered to the side, but that'll be okay once we get this twisted up to line up with this center hole. And once you get both sides leveled out, we'll take our bolt, slide it back into place. Now once you got everything lined up the way that you want it, you can come back and tighten and torque all of our hardware to the specifications and the instructions. The last thing we need to do is just snug up this jam nut. Another note I would like to make is that these holes on the side, although you should find the best one that fits straight up and down, as you get tighter on these holes, so the furthest one towards the end, as you get tighter, they're going to make the bar a little bit stiffer. So if you find that it's not really doing much for you, move it in one hole at a time. Well guys, hopefully this video helped you decide whether or not the Hellwig rear anti-sway bar is right for you in your 2011 Ford F-150.